Hmm. No, there's not much here. But I guess if we spread out, we stand a better chance. Not that there's too much ground to cover. If I knew, we'd have found it already. Valessa seems to think Miles left something behind. But he isn't dumb. He wouldn't leave stuff out in the open. If it were up to me, we'd all be long gone. I can't fight your choice, though. It's your village. Let's do our best to hurry and get out of here. Actually, I was going to ask you. I thought you two were in sync or something. Don't think I didn't notice your secret talks. But I'm not mad or anything. I know the relationship between you and your culture. Whatever it is, it's not like you're plotting against me. Huh? You mean today, or in general? Oh, I'm a mercenary from Mazeo. I was actually hired to come bring you back there. A summit is happening and they want your input. It's basically the hub of Alestia. Ports from there go to the rest of the known world. A huge city of commerce, it's full of strange people. But you'd get stabbed in the back before you find help. That's what puts people like me in business, protectors of the weak. Well, not that I'm calling you weak, but you get the idea. Because of its central location, it's the perfect meeting spot. The generals from Alarinthia and Baltia sail over annually. Valinor is nonpartisan, so you usually sit this one out. Maybe it's a chance to get Valinor more invested in Alestian politics, but they want your input and I've been sent to pick you up. I guess it's a good thing I got here when I did, right? Look, I don't ask for specifics. I do this to get paid and make a living. If you want, feel free to ask them when we get there. And that is, if you two even agree to follow me. But right now, I can't let you die on my watch. We will discuss the rest once we're out of harm's way. Is that an accusation of some kind? Where I come from, you don't accuse the guy with the bigger sword. I'll pretend I didn't hear that and carry on with his search. Actually, I come from Alarinthia, practically born with the blade in my hand. A figure of speech, of course. Don't picture that. Eventually, you grow up and need money of your own. I took the first ship to Mazeo and started selling my sword arm. I don't miss that place at all. It's disgustingly warm and humid. Completely different than what you think. We recognize power, not lineage, or claim to the throne. Or I guess they do, since I no longer live there. Instead of elections, there's a tournament every few years. Only the strongest tribe wins the right to rule Alarinthia. Of course, the rule is always contested shortly after. It's good not to make any close friends. You never know who you'll have to put to the blade. It's a culture of war, and only the strongest prevail. You don't have to suck up to me, I know it's awful. That's basically why I left the first chance I got. I took a stable living over that chaotic place. No offense, but you have it pretty easy here. This is a paradise compared to what I had in Alarinthia. I mean, present circumstances excluded, of course. The weak die out pretty fast, so not really. I'd say there's always a stable top 10 list. If someone isn't on it, they aren't worth your time. Very funny. A joke question. I'll pass. Hey, we're talking about putting your life on the line. Do you really think you'd want protection from a nobody? As you can tell, I'm very passionate about this. Comes with the territory of being in the top 10. Though after this, I hope to rise a few ranks. Congratulations, you're now on my nerves. Let's change the subject before I leave you behind. No, I'm with my true family in Mazeo. We have a different concept of family in Alarinthia. You choose your family, and members come and go. When I left Alarinthia, I left that family behind. I made a new one in Mazeo, and they're no less important. We don't go by blood in Alarinthia, but by choice. Yeah, and sorry if that sounds weird to you. There's a big culture difference at play here. Perhaps you'll learn more when we leave Valenorth. Not that I expect you to change your ways, but it's always nice to learn about the world. Anyway, let's get back to the matter at hand. They died during one of Alarinthia's tournaments. What stung worse is that they made it to the final round. Alarinthia holds tournaments for the throne, not elections. But that's not why I left the nation at all. I heard about this in a letter a few years back. Haven't been home since and don't plan on going either. Alarinthia is quite far away. It easily takes a few days to reach by sea. The climate is so different, I almost can't explain it. Just don't dress in layers. Wear as little clothing as possible. You're liable to melt into a puddle. Alarinthia is known for its cutthroat political landscape. Even then, extreme heat is the leading cause of death. I'm not joking. Go unprepared and you'll pay for it. It's better to know beforehand than go and regret it. Who knows where the path ahead might take you? Just doing my duty to help keep you safe. Well, yeah, if the Triumvirate is truly responsible. Alestia is divided into 4 nations, right? Valenorth, Mazeo, Alarinthia, and Baltius. Each nation has a general that serves the Triumvirate. They rule in their stead and make sure everything runs smoothly. Except, you guessed it, the Elder or General of Valenorth. No one really knows why you remained untouched for so long, but the theory is that they don't want to anger the spirits. Because of all that spiritual energy residing here. So I'm thinking this is a power play. Take the 4th nation and control the whole world. They did the same thing to Mazeo about 20 years ago. The same thing that's happening here, but with less fire. They occupied the free town and placed a general in charge. They used terrible force, but the town improved because of it. I'll never agree with their methods, but Mazeo is peaceful. If they're burning villages down now, though, unforgivable. Perhaps the rebellion isn't in the wrong after all. The way it looks right now, they already do. That's why we need to get out of here as soon as possible. A stiff drink at Peregrino is sounding pretty good right now. Let's hurry up and get this finished. It's turned into a fool's errand, and I'm no fool. It's not like anything I've seen before. So in tune with the spirits, you let them govern you. The rest of Alestia has history in their own hands. Not that it's a bad thing, of course. It's just different from the rest of the world. From what I've seen, the spirits have a good grasp on things. Well, you're in the middle of a forest out here. You know what they say about nature and spiritual energy. The rest of the world has been deforested and settled differently. It's not that they don't care for spirits. Actually, it's more like they don't know anything else. They've lived their entire lives in areas devoid of spiritual energy. But Valenorth is so peaceful while the rest of the world isn't. It might very well be the influence of the spirit realm. You have a good thing going here. I can't stand what's happening. Well, let's not jump to conclusions. I'm a sellsword. There's no business in peace for me. After I retire, though, it's always an option. If I live long enough to retire, that is. My business isn't exactly the safest in the world. What's going on here is pretty good proof of that. Hey. Absolutely. I'd recognize that thing anywhere. I'm surprised you have it out in the open like that. We went through such great lengths to hide it. About the Blade of Exodus? It's extraordinary. I have no idea where it came from or the full range of its power. It can repurpose life into an energy that serves the wielder. That gear at the base can spin, which should be impossible. It's almost like some parts of the blade exist in a different world. I'm starting to think that's the case. Where else would it store all that power? It's practically cheating. Whoever wields it has infinite power. I don't think of the Triumvirate as gods. They were just abusing this weapon. Now that they don't have it, taking them down should be child's play.
I have no idea, and I don't think we'll ever find out. It must tap into a person's spirit before it enters the spirit realm. That's the only non-physical part of us that could be considered energy. I'm assuming they've always had it. It's how they came to power. Some people seem to think they used the blade to create our entire world. Not many people know about it, though, and they see the Triumvirate as gods. And they really aren't. They're just men who came upon a greater power. And now we have that greater power. We can rule Alestia far better than them. I think we should destroy that blade after we win. It's a tool of pure corruption. It wasn't too long ago, maybe half a year. The rebellion planned an attack. Our previous leader planned it down to even the smallest detail. Steal the blade, map out their castle, and pave way for our future liberation. I'll be honest, he knew he was going to die. He used his final moments to get the blade. Some people think it's a little fishy. How could we win so easily? Did they let us win? I don't think it's that deep. They just didn't expect our leader to effectively commit suicide. I was. Change the subject. I'm sure you won't. I don't think any of us will. The scope of his planning went farther than I could have imagined. Being the Elder of Valenorth, he planned every aspect of your involvement. I guess breaking Valenorth's non-partisan stance made perfect sense to him. Every little piece was in place. The liberation of Alestia was finally attainable. I just hope that you're everything you thought you'd be. Wielding that blade isn't easy. He already is, and I'm happy to serve him. Things are going swimmingly. It helps that he was one of the founding members of the rebellion, too. At that point, though, he was too young to lead. Things are different now. He's done a fine job of honoring our leader's legacy and guiding us to victory. He had to make a few hard decisions, but I trust his judgment without question. Everything is going according to plan. Our final assault is all we need. Wait, he used the Blade of Exodus on me? That's impossible. There's no way he'd be able to wield it. You're the only one. Even Dominic nearly died the first time he touched it. I'm still surprised, though. He had a small vision when he did. Perhaps he has some spiritual energy inside of him. Either way, hopefully I went out in a blaze of glory. Yeah, that sounds like me. I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm just thankful that this vision won't come to pass. I have a lot of life left in me. That makes me wonder, though. What was the purpose of seeing something like that? I can understand a vision of Valenorth being attacked, but seeing me and watching me die? We've never even met. How is it possible to know what I look like and how I act? I know the spirits give visions of the future, but that's so specific, and it won't happen. Sylvie is an incredibly strong adversary, even without the blade. But if he's able to wield it, we better make sure it never enters his hands. His strength, coupled with that blade. I don't scare easily, but that's terrifying. There's no way he should be able to. I imagine even you're having trouble. It's not meant for just anybody to wield. You need an incredible spiritual connection. Dominic might have a small one, but Sylvie? A man like that has no connection to the spirits. Hard to say. That depends on your ability to wield it. The Triumvirate had that blade for an eternity. You don't have that much time. Not to put too much pressure on your shoulders, it's just the truth. Yeah, but you also saw me die, right? These visions aren't as reliable as I've been led to believe. Rather than seeing the future, it's almost like it shows you what to avoid. Too bad we can't avoid what's coming to Valenorth. When Dominic touched the blade, he saw Valenorth fall, and the rebellion win. It seems like he's embracing what he saw. Good thing you're not, or else I'd be dead. You mean how do I feel without our most valuable assets? Pretty terrible. Without visions to guide us and the power of that blade, we'd be dead. There's no way we could take them down through conventional means. However, at the moment, everything is in our favor. Everything. We just need to be careful. Do not let the Triumvirate or Sovi take that blade back. If we can do that, victory is as good as ours. A new future will rise to greet Alestia. Scary is an understatement, but I've never been more certain of our victory. Domik is pretty excited to meet you, actually. You're going to help us win this war. I'm fully aware of that. It'll take some training to get used to it. When we get to Mazeo, Domik will place you under a strict training regimen. You need to get as much practice as possible before we launch our attack. Of course, and I'm glad you look at it that way. Practice makes perfect. We can't expect you to use it immediately. Just do your best to be careful. You know what that thing is capable of. I'll pass, thanks. Domik was able to use it only for a brief second. Any longer than that and he would have died. I think this one rests on your shoulders alone. And yet, here we are. Let's just go with the flow. No use fighting what's set in stone. Domik was able to use it only for a brief second. Any longer than that and he would have died. I think this one rests on your shoulders alone. Good. Fighting your calling is never the right idea. Just embrace it and let's do great things together. You'll make it out of this as a hero, you know. Well, the rebellion was formed around 20 years ago. Survivors of the occupation banded together and sought justice. Adults trained orphaned children to create the perfect soldiers. A long time has passed, and now the children are old enough to fight. That and they've been perfectly trained, almost their only purpose. Domik was one of these children. The previous leader raised him as his own. Obviously, I'm a little older. I wasn't a victim of the occupation. When it happened, I was just arriving in Mazeo to sell my sword arm. I moved here from Alarinthia as soon as I had the chance. Imagine wanting to get a new start and arriving in the middle of a war zone. That's pretty much what happened. So I did what anybody else would do. I joined the winning side, the Triumvirate, with the hopes of making money. It was going well, but then I realized they were killing children. I turned on them as quickly as I joined them, fighting for Mazeo. I was one of the first rebels. Got to watch Domik grow up firsthand. That's purely subjective, but I happen to think you're right. The Triumvirate needs to be taken down or held accountable for what they did. Leaders should never get a free pass to commit atrocities. Never. I'm sure there's been insurrections in the past. There must have been. But the thing about us is that we have the Blade of Exodus, our victory. Look, I realized the error of my ways and did everything to make amends. We can't say the same about the Triumvirate. They've chosen tyranny. You can be mad at me all you want, but that's old news. A lifetime ago. Glad to know we think alike. Most people get upset when I tell them. The most important thing is that I'm a changed man. Our enemy is not. They need to be held accountable. They've done horrible things. And what's worse is that they don't see them as wrong. That's why it falls upon our hands to take them down. With that blade, we finally have the means to do it. He's a good man. I've watched him grow into a capable soldier. He always has this way of being happy no matter the odds. Even if we lost almost every rebel, he'd find a way to keep us going. Cracking a joke or two is always in his nature, even in grim circumstances. It can lighten the mood, that's for sure. Nothing is worse than low morale. That's probably what he's best at, keeping the soldiers happy and motivated. I feel the same way. I'm confident that he'll lead us to victory. Yeah, but it works. The morale of our troops is proof of that. Cold and calculated, but also personable and witty. He's really unique. Tell that to him yourself. I'm sure he'll get a kick out of it. He can lead any way he wants, as long as the army is happy and strong. If you're worried about him getting cocky because of that blade, don't. He's aware that the Blade of Exodus isn't a free victory card. The way he approaches strategy is really something else. You'll probably warm up to him. I know I did. Absolutely. Everybody lost something special that day. Families were torn apart. Many people lost the will to live. A lot of the children only wanted one thing: revenge. And a lot of the adults saw one thing: an army ripe for training. They banded together, and the rebellion slowly became what it is today. We are finally strong enough to do something, and that's special. Really? That's news to me. What a bad day to be in Mazeo. I guess it makes sense, though. You look like you carry purpose. You'll fit right in. I'm sure almost every rebel could relate. Yeah, the bulk of the victims were children who lost their parents. Fast forward some 20-odd years and they're grown men and women. Nobody would send children to war. It was important to wait and train. What else were we supposed to do? It's not like we forced them. They wanted to fight, to be trained, and we wanted an army. We were able to achieve unity and grow into the force we've become. Yeah, think about it for a moment. Without them, we'd stand no chance. Some people think their future was stolen, but if we win, we can get it back. No occupations. No families being torn apart. That's the true purpose of it all. You don't have to. It's easy to get caught up in the present. When we win a beautiful future for everybody, that's when you'll see. This is necessary. Their future isn't truly gone. We can take it back. Not really. But it's not numbers that we need, just strategy. The Triumvirate's honor guard is weak. One man could easily kill 50. And with that blade on our side, they can't make any more. Just a matter of time. That's for sure. Without that blade, we'd never win. As I've always said, we can't take them down with conventional means. There's a lot resting on your shoulders. I hope you're up to the task. Of course it can. If you don't believe that, you must be new to conflict. Battles are fought and won on the war table, far before any sword is drawn. That's not really true. If it were a losing battle, we'd have lost already. We've come this far and got that blade precisely because it's not a losing battle. Scratch that thought from your mind. You'll come to see that victory is clear. Once you master that blade, you'll tear through their very soul. Maybe bind them to a suit of armor. I've always been a sucker for irony. There's not much to say. He doubled as the Elder of Valenorth. You probably already know everything there is to know. You worked with him. The secrets he kept from you? Well, you've already been told. He sacrificed himself to get you that blade. Now he's gone. Domik buried him underground in Mazeo's tunnels, our new home. In fact, you could see his grave if you wanted. Pay some respects. I doubt we will. He gave us a hand of winning cards. Domik is securing our HQ and planning our final attack right now. We'll sail to Balteus and take them down for good. I heard that he was. He had a lot of stuff to deal with. Finding out about his father's true role and leading Valenorth, I can't even begin to imagine what the inside of his head is like. I guess it is. But I doubt Domik was thinking that far ahead. It was just the most convenient place to bury his body. Those tunnels were being dug up, lots of tools lying around. Lots of pirates and people who are after money, no matter what. Don't trust random people and don't buy anything from a stranger. You'd get swindled and robbed far before you found anyone genuine. The occupation didn't make things too much better. It's still dangerous. Mazeo's spirit idol was also on its final days, dim and defeated. At least, that's what we thought, until very recently. Well, there's a church in Mazeo. It's supposed to be for triumvirate worship. At the altar there rests a very dim spirit idol. We assumed it was dying. But it's not even the true spirit idol. The true one rests deep underground. The one in the church was merely receiving energy from the true idol. That's why it was so dim. The source of power was far away. Nobody knows about this except for the rebellion. It's our secret. We want to try tapping into it for power. It's our only chance, too, since Alarenthia's idol was destroyed. And from what I've heard, Valenorth's died out a while back as well. Is that so? I suppose that's why you're so important. Its energy went into you, and now you can wield the blade. I hope you don't misuse this gift. I'll admit, I'm a bit intimidated. I'm not sure. It's one of Alarenthia's many legends. Apparently at the dawn of history, the triumvirate destroyed it. That's why Alarenthia grew into what it is today, an arid wasteland. If the triumvirate did it, we have to wonder why. Do the spirit idols pose some threat to their rule? That's why Domik wants to try tapping into Mazeo's true idol. The triumvirate suspected it. That's why they were digging in Mazeo. But after 20 years, they found nothing. It was Domik who discovered it. We decided to keep it secret. He's coming up with a plan for it right now. I suppose so. If the triumvirate didn't destroy all the others. But right now, the idol in Mazeo is the only one we know about. That is, unless there's one in Balteus. But I doubt it. I mean, the triumvirate could have one hidden there, maybe. But there's no way to know for sure. We should focus on what we do know. Yeah, the occupation didn't do much to help, no matter what anyone says. I think I'm qualified to speak on the matter. I mean, I've lived there forever. There's still an active piracy network, smuggling things from Mazeo to Alarenthia. Yeah, the elimination of piracy was just an excuse. I think they were searching for the spirit idol underneath Mazeo. But what they wanted it for, and what they do with it, I have no idea. Probably not. Not unless they had some reason to help us, a big one. A liberated Alestia would have no room for rampant piracy, right? There'd be no reason to help a cause that hurts their livelihood. Right now they're a wild card, not on our side but not against us either. We should use that to our advantage while we can. They might turn on us later. I'll be by your side. Domik should be as well. You'll be fine. We know the lay of the land and how to deal with people. Just follow our lead. Besides, most of our time will be in the Rebel HQ. It's safe there. Alestia will be free. We won't have any restriction on trade. That's a good thing and a bad thing. The pirate will fight against it. We could take down the triumvirate only to find ourselves against the pirate army. No. You couldn't even pay me to go back to Alarenthia. It's so hot it's almost unbearable. And the way they govern things is different. I know I say that Mazeo is dangerous, but Alarenthia makes it look like paradise. I just don't agree with the way things are done over there. The strongest tribe gets to rule the land. It's a constant power struggle. Either way, Alarenthia isn't my home. My true home is Mazeo. Yeah, and that's especially true in Alarenthia. You choose your home and family. You can change your circumstances if you don't like them. On the mainland and in Mazeo, it's different. People stay in toxic relationships. I think of it different. If you don't like your family, find a new one. I've spilled enough blood to hold no blind allegiance to it. That's a very grim way of looking at things. When the flames go out and the ash blows away, you can go back. It still exists. It'll just be a new Valenorth. Don't be pessimistic. He recently rose through the ranks and has given us tons of trouble. When the Triumvirate gets in our way, he's likely responsible. He makes himself a lot more known. Way different than the last Inquisitor. I haven't gotten to meet his apprentice yet. A Grand Inquisitor always has to train one. It ensures a constant cycle of obedience. I don't know. Yeah, but as I said, I have no idea who it is. If Sovi is training him, though, I'd watch out. Seems like we'll be up against some tough opposition. Not that I'm aware of, and I highly doubt it. It's just them, the Inquisition and their honor guard. Seems simple enough, but taking them down will be anything but. The more you know about the enemy, the easier it is to oppose them. This is one of the fundamental rules of war. Know what you're up against. Ignorance on the battlefield is the fastest way to meet your own end. There's not much to say that you don't already know. It's a trading hub, providing goods and services to Valenorth and Alarenthia. But there's a large piracy scene, providing the more illicit goods and services. The occupation was supposed to make things better, but it didn't. It only created more laws to break, and they haven't even cracked down on them. The mayor has slowly defected to our side after realizing the Triumvirate's true intent. They only wanted the spirit idol hidden underneath Mazeo. We're sure of it. The introduction of law and order to the city of Mazeo was justification enough for them. If they truly wanted to keep Mazeo in line, they'd be enforcing the laws they put in place. His name is Grizz, and he slowly defected to our side. He's a good ally to have, especially with the strings he can pull. I doubt our plans would have gotten this far without his assistance. He took part in the occupation, actually, and slowly realized he was wrong. So that would mean he's been in power for a little over 20 years. He was pretty distant at first, but we slowly got more in touch with him. As time passed, he realized he was being lied to. That's what the Triumvirate does. They tell you that you're getting what you want, but it's just a cover to use you. I guess he got fed up and realized that the rebellion could actually deliver. I'd say so, yeah. This isn't a sudden defection or anything like that. It's been slowly happening over the last 20 years. I saw it all. He's truly sorry for what he's done, and now he wants redemption. I guess joining us will help him achieve that redemption. He's just in the unfortunate situation of playing both sides. He does work with the enemy, but his allegiance is with us. I know it. They'd probably kill him. They don't really tolerate that. But it's not very often that somebody goes against their rule. They seem to have a sway over their subjects. It's hard to describe. Like, only now that he's away from them is his mind finally clear. As soon as they find out, I'm sure they'll make him a primary target. I'm willing to bet that they'll send Sovi and his apprentice to do the job. He's really big. He can be intimidating, but his heart is in the right place. You don't really get the politician vibe from him. He looks more like a warrior, but that's kind of the point. The Triumvirate wanted a ruthless man in charge. Just don't judge him based on his appearance and you'll be fine. There's a friendly man underneath that hardened exterior, I promise. If it weren't for his efforts, the rebellion would barely be successful. No, and why would it? It was just a front because they wanted the spirit idol. Mazeo remains largely the same. Attention was just diverted to different areas. For example, trade bans just made the pirates focus on different commodities. They talked a big talk, but they didn't follow through. It was all a lie. For example, the rebellion formed effortlessly under their watchful eyes. Under competent rulers, that never should have happened. See what I'm getting at? How else do you explain the huge underground expedition? If they weren't here, there'd be no tunnels at all. It seems to make sense. Thankfully, we found it first, so it's up to us to make the next move. I can't think of any other explanation, to be honest, so I'm definitely certain. The occupation of Mazea was just a front for their true goal, the idol. However certain I am of that, I'm still clueless as to why they'd want it. We had a deal in place with the owner of Mazeo's Tavern. It's not unlike Peregrino, actually, almost existing as a front. But he didn't want to get caught, since things were coming to a head. So we decided to branch off and find ourselves a new home. That's when Domek set his eyes on the underground tunnels. He'd been going to them for a while, to gather his mind in peace. Nobody. That's what made the occupation such a good excuse. Before they took over, it was a no man's land. Everybody was free. That had both upsides and downsides. So they capitalized on the downsides. They promised the people a better future, and they just ate it up. Fast forward over 20 years, and they're starting to realize it was a lie. It's helped us get some last-minute recruits, but we can't count on any more of those. Honestly, I'm not sure. We need to think about that when the war is over. We could revert it to the way things were, or come up with a new form of government. I'm sure that whatever happens, though, we can't fully eliminate piracy. Even if we lifted all trading bans, they just continue business as normal. That's what my advice would be. We should legitimize them, put them to work. It's easy to punish them, but there's a whole industry we could tap into. There are two pirate lords, Alex and Nada. They see eye to eye on most things but disagree on others. Still, rather than fight each other, they've come to rule together. Some pirates prefer Alex while others prefer Nada. It's not too complicated, but there's enough drama around piracy to deal with infighting, so they work together. Piracy wasn't his first choice, but he really didn't have any say in the matter. None of the legitimate trading companies would hire him due to his troubled past. He basically takes whatever job he can get, living off of Nada's scraps. A lot of the local pirates follow after his ideals. He doesn't have delusions of grandeur. The goods he smuggles aren't too dangerous either. It's pretty close to an honest living. He just wants the trade bans lifted, to continue doing what he's doing and be accepted. Now, she's a different story entirely. Nothing is off limits for her. She wants money and power. As long as the price is right, it doesn't matter what you want to smuggle, she's your girl. Her vision of the future is different than Alex's. One day she sees herself in charge of Mazeo. A lot of the pirates follow her because she promises them riches and power. Alex doesn't do that. He simply promises them a stable living with the hopes that one day it's made legal. But Nada doesn't care what's right or what's wrong, only about having the most power. I guess she thinks that if you have power, it doesn't matter what you do. While Alex wants to live an honest, legal life, Nada wants to be strong enough to do anything. If you have the whole world in your hand, much like the Triumvirate, no one will stop you. I've never had to think about it, so I don't really have an answer. But I'd probably have to go with Alex. Nada is a bit too ruthless for me. If she was in power, people would be under her thumb, rather than free. Not really. Our previous leader ensured that we stayed well hidden. Not many of the townspeople knew what we were doing, but even if they found out, they sided with us anyway. His name was Salus, and he was a man of pure genius. I know we say that Dominic is a good strategist, but Salus, he was incredible. If it weren't for him, you wouldn't even be wearing that blade on your back. To be honest, if we win this war, it'll all be thanks to him. We have some work ahead of us, but he made it all possible. Not to discredit what you need to do, of course, but you get the idea. It's not that hard to be secretive, especially when you have to be. We never slipped up, precisely because we couldn't afford to. It's also a bit easier with your key players hiding behind positions of power. By that, I mean nobody would question Grizz or the Elder of Valenorth. So because of that, him and Salus were able to meet and plan things without suspicion. Essentially, we had the perfect cover. After Salus passed, we just exercised discretion. Yes. With the knowledge I currently possess, yes, I think they would. Over 20 years later, the Mazaeans are starting to realize the Triumvirate was lying. They promised to turn Mazeo into a utopia. Just look around when we get there. It's not. Their words seem to mean a lot to people, even if their actions don't follow suit. In my opinion, it's only a matter of time before their promises fall on deaf ears. That is, if we don't take them down first. At least we will be keeping our promises. Depends what you're wanting to know. Just give me a try. Old enough to be tired of answering that question. I consider Dominic and the Rebellion to be my family. If you mean my birth family in Alarinthia, I couldn't tell you. We weren't very close, and I left for the mainland as soon as I could. Depends how much you're paying me. There isn't much to say. He always pops in to mess up our plans. Every time we battle the Honor Guard, he's right there with them. The Triumvirate barely leaves their castle, so he's almost like a stand-in for them. Basically, anytime we're against enemy forces, he's there. But you learn a lot about the man and the way he fights, so I know a lot about him. I've never seen anybody with such strong conviction. He truly believes he's doing the right thing. No, and I think I'd like to keep it that way. Forgive me if I ask you to be more specific. I haven't been able to get a good read on her yet, which is rare for me. Normally I'm a good judge of character, but on her I'm drawing a blank. Not to say that's a bad thing, she carries herself admirably, but she's just closed off. At the end of the day, she won't cause me any concern, so that's a good thing. But I find myself wondering why she's so scared to open up. It's not like we'll hurt her. Some might say that's a personality trait on its own, but not me. I like to dig deeper. Honestly, he's a little much, energy-wise, I mean. I used to be like him when I was younger, but it's better to conserve your energy. If you waste it without thought like he does, you won't have it when you actually need it. And that's pretty much why I'm so calm all the time. I'm waiting to put my energy to good use. Normally that good use involves either a fight or some stiff drinks. You'll see. Once we get to Mazeo, there's a tavern that gets my highest recommendation. We don't seem to get along, but he's actually one of my best friends. He just has this way of poking fun at everybody. It's his way of showing love. With a troubled past like his, I wouldn't be surprised if he thought that's what love is. You're good at following orders, I'll give you that much. I'm not sure if you're just clueless or full of national pride. Either way, it's a good thing. We can't have you full of doubt. It won't be much longer until you can kick back and relax. But when you do, it'll be as Alestia's hero. Think about that. You had a life of luxury just thrown into your lap. I'm jealous. Well, spare time is pretty scarce these days, but I love a good drink. Nothing better than winding down a busy day with some ale, right? Aside from that, I love a good spar, but it's hard to find a challenge. I'm not picky. I just like the effects. The stronger stuff is more expensive, though, and I'm not loaded. Well, unless Dominic decides to treat me, I guess. That's rare, though. There's a huge tavern tucked away in the town square. Best drinks money can buy, and like Peregrino, they have private rooms. Great business model, actually. When you've had too much, they can con you into a room. I'll point it out if I can. Might be a good idea to grab a drink before your training. Dominic has a strict regimen set out for you, but I'll make sure you have fun. Don't worry. Ha, of course. Now you're starting to grow on me. I didn't know you were into that, but I need a good drinking buddy. You can only drink so much alone before it starts to get sad. Yes.
Well, it's definitely not something Dracu came up with. Rulers of Alarinthia have been doing it for ages, actually. It's supposed to make your subjects less inclined to rebel. It's not really working if Vivian exists, but at the end of the day, it's still a nice party. As much food and drink as you could ever want. Don't worry, Monarch, I won't go overboard. I do like to drink, but not while I'm on a mission of any sort. I'll be tempted, of course, though I'm sure you can keep me in line. After the feast, there's a large ball, but it all starts with a speech. Basically, Dracu will be bragging about his power and influence. If he shows off how strong he is, he's less inclined to be challenged. Though if there is a challenge, they hold a tournament the next day. It rarely happens unless it's a drunken partygoer trying to play a joke. Everyone wakes up, hungover, and goes about their simple lives. Honestly, I don't know too much about him. I've been out of the loop on Alarenthian politics for a while. But to hold the throne of this nation, you need to be fierce. So, if you think I'm strong, then you know nothing. He'll make me look like a whelp in comparison. And from what I've heard, he's pretty smart too. Most rulers, from what I've seen, simply bathe in their own riches. To hold a ball and share it with your nation? That's pretty genius. It destroys any motivation to remove him from the throne. That's why Alarenthia hasn't had a tournament in a long time. The people are either happy or certain that they lose in combat. I'm betting on the latter, which makes Dracu even more intimidating. Do not underestimate him, Monarch. If the natives can't dethrone him, what chance do we stand? Vivian might dream of a changed nation, but it'll stay that. Just a dream. The town square is a nice place, but it's just like Museo, a large market with people all peddling their homemade wares. You won't find anything you need, but you'll find everything you want. After that, I'd say to pay the Colosseum a visit. It's not just a venue used to battle for Alarenthia's throne. They have large battles every day, and you can place bets. Of course, my personal pick would be the tavern. Alarenthia has a lot of unique drinks, so I'll make sure to stop there. If I get my fill, maybe I'll be lucky enough to forget this entire voyage. It doesn't feel any different than I thought, if that's what you mean. Stepping foot on this soil didn't change my mind. It only solidified my hate. Let's do everything we can to get out of here as fast as possible, Monarch. Please. No, I just want to get the job done and get back home. If you think you can change my outlook on this place, you're wrong. I think this conversation is over, Monarch. We have a long journey ahead. I have no idea, but it doesn't really matter. I'm pretty sure that we can handle whatever they throw at us. But if he truly does work for Vivian, then we have some good luck. We could use some of that, couldn't we? So for now I'm going to believe Dracior, but only for now. If anything seems suspicious at the tavern, I'll tip you off. Although, the prospect of a tavern brawl does sound appealing. You haven't seen true fighting until you've seen it in Alarenthia. Just thinking about it gets my blood boiling. It's been too long. Of course, I'll try my best to keep our visit a peaceful one. I don't want to end up fighting for our freedom in the Colosseum. Their methods of punishing prisoners are still pretty harsh. I hate to talk about this, so I'll try making it quick. Vivian obviously isn't the first person to rebel against Alaranthia's laws. The first one, at least in recorded history, was named Ulrich, like me. Many people followed after his ideals, including my parents, so much so that they decided to name me after him. I don't like it. That's all it is, really. My name is a silly little tribute. I guess it doesn't help that I also actually look like him, or at least all artistic and textual descriptions of him. A pretty cool coincidence, but that's all it is. I knew this stuff would come up as soon as we got here. Just remember, you've known me long before this trip. Don't come to judge me by the things these people say. I'd rather not talk about that right now, but I have a feeling you'll find out soon enough. It's complicated and we're really short on time. Just trust me, all right? It's nothing bad. I earned these, they weren't ripped off. Let's grab a drink in the tavern and chat. That's none of your business, not yet. Again, just trust me, okay? Please. There's lots going on that you don't know. That's not to say that you'll never know it. Just sit back and wait until the time is right. I promise that everything will make sense soon. Other than the tavern, not really. There's just the market stalls like Museo. However, there's no laws in place for this stuff. You can buy whatever you want in Alarenthia. Pirates make a living bringing illicit goods overseas, so whatever your heart desires, you can probably find. But I don't think you're the... Other than the tavern, not really. There's just the market stalls like Museo. However, there's no laws in place for this stuff. You can buy whatever you want in Alarenthia. Pirates make a living bringing illicit goods overseas, so whatever your heart desires, you can probably find. But I don't think you're the type of person to want that stuff. So if it's all the same to you, we should probably get to the tavern. Remember, we're on a bit of a schedule. Our time is valuable. I'm upset with you. I won't hide the truth. If Vivian wins, you've screwed us all over. He'll remember where you placed your loyalty. And I'm not going to hold back in that arena. If I have to kill Pro to win, I'm going to do it. You know I want to change this nation. Nothing will get in my way. That includes you. So if you'll excuse me, I'm going to explore the castle. Spirits know I need a few drinks after everything that happened. I'm grateful for your support. I really am. I've always told you how much I want to change this place, and now I'm getting the chance. This almost feels like a dream. I'm not a fan of what Pro did, though. I hate to say this, but I'm prepared to kill him. If I see an opening, I have to take it, Monarch. I think I need a few drinks after all of this. Truth be told, I'm still a little confused about everything, but I assume that confusion will wane when the battle starts. I'm going to go check out the rest of the castle. I'll see you around. Remember, party responsibly.